It's been almost 100 years since the war to end all wars ended itself. It's unforgettable how many lives were lost and how much it changed the world. But most games seem to be determined in remembering its sequel, World War II. And it does make sense, from a general to a first-person point of view, fast-paced combat with rapid-fire weapons. It matches the modern aesthetic of FPSs, or RTSs. One developer would try to capture World War I for us. And I mean try. DICE's Battlefield 1. Released in 2016, it felt like the Great War, but when it came to multiplayer, it was just Battlefield 1942 with First World War coats of paint. But where DICE failed, M2H and Blackmill Games succeeded, with Verdun. This indie game has made me feel something I haven't for a long time: appreciation. Several maps recreating battlefields from the Western Front, such as muddy, rain-soaked fields to fortified, damaged defenses. The authenticity doesn't just come from the look, but the trench warfare that you fight in, with the ditches and craters that litter throughout no man's land. They end up becoming your only cover and defilade from enemy fire. Just getting to the enemy trench is a challenge. Another authentic trait of the game is not everyone's overpowered. Usually on both sides there'll be one machine gunner. And to stand a chance of winning, you're encouraged to work in teams. Or just one big team. Safety in numbers. And most GIs would have a bolt-action rifle, so usually the outcome of the battle relies on your accuracy and precision of marksman skills. Eventually, updates allowed you to play as different nationalities such as Belgium, Canada, and the United States, with their respected weapons. Rightfully, there's no customization, forcing you to play with what they had to fight with. Flanders, based on the Battle of Ypres, is a rain-drenched muddy field with incredibly shallow trenches that feel more like frontline dugouts, and the only safe space is a pillbox and destroyed bunker. Artois is mostly a downhill or uphill fight, and there's a giant crater on top that divides the Alliance's trenches. There's an outpost that gets you closer to the opposition's front line. By the way, these were the two sides fighting each other in World War I. Got that cleared up. Picard not only is the biggest map, but it's the biggest patch of no man's land, and it's hell to get across it. In fact, it's so big, snipers find it difficult to hit their targets. It's probably got the deepest trenches in the game. The look of the map is reminiscent to the Somme. Assign is a forested area where there's plenty of cover for advancing troops like trees, crops, haystacks, and it's a major departure in looks from the previous free. Argonne is where the most close quarters fighting takes place, the enemy lines being so close to each other they're in grenade range. And in order to get to the enemy trench, you have to be familiar with that prone key. It stands as the smallest map in the game. Champagne is a night map where mostly the fighting is in the trenches. Also a good map for setting up ambushes. Fort de Mont, a giant fort complex that, to stand a chance of having the initiative, you had to capture. And Vargas, which I know I'm probably not pronouncing right. It's kind of like a foresty, mountainous terrain, with only one trench each side has to capture. That is kind of like a tiny version of Picard. And there's this map that I won't say the name of, but the mode is Rifle Deathmatch. From the beginning with its menu, the substance takes center stage over the style. It's a piece from a period that encapsulates the war on the Western Front. An example of what you should play than what you want to play. What Battlefield 1 never became.